Assalamu alaikum. You're listening to the New Beginnings podcast. No fluff, no holding back, just honest conversations about your journey as a new Muslim.
Brought to you by New Beginnings, a platform that aims to support new Muslims on their journey through Islam, from the Shahada and beyond.
Sheikh Bilal, in your experience, how many convert couples have you seen? And I'm going to ask you this is something unscripted, so I do apologize. But in your experience with convert couples vis-a-vis mixed quote unquote couples, of course, convert couples could be mixed too, vis-a-vis convert, non-vert couples, how would you say the dynamics are? Are they very different? What would be the main sticking points?
Yeah, so you might already know my views on this matter already, but I, strongly encourage converts to marry other converts. Not because of marriage with a heritage. There were some fantastic convert heritage Muslim marriages that, they've been working for years and they're great. But my own approach is just to try to encourage converts to marry other converts. And one of the reasons is you already have an understanding what it's like to come from disbelief to belief. So you're both on that journey. You will most likely be culturally similar. Okay, there will be differences, Afro-Caribbean culture, he marries a, English girl and things like that. But generally, the culture is more likely to be in line. Your families, when you're dealing with your families as well, it's most likely to be easier for you and more compatibility and, how to deal with those families as well. So that's something I encourage. But I think the most important thing is, what are the goals in that marriage? If you're both working towards the same goals and objectives, then it doesn't matter if the converts, non-verts, or heritage Muslims, whatever. And if you're both working towards the same objectives and you both have an understanding with one another, like I said, the compatibility, then that's fine. But I personally do encourage converts to marry other converts. That's just my own personal approach. I'm not saying that it's wrong to marry heritage Muslims, but I do think from just anecdotal evidence that generally it does work better off.
So I'm going to throw a question back at you, and actually anybody who wants to answer this can. I would tend to agree with that. I mean, my personal experience is I've been married twice, both times to people who were not born in the UK, who came to the UK as adults. And I think, in all honesty, that was more of a cultural barrier than the fact that they were heritage Muslims, in fairness, in terms of compatibility. Obviously, there were other issues. But with regards to...
I actually had a message from a brother. He's a heritage Muslim and he wants to get married to a convert girl. He's over in the Netherlands. And he was actually messaging me. He was asking me, so this girl, her sister is, or brother is transgender. So he was asking, how do I deal with this? If I have kids with her, I won't want them to go and sit with her sister, and should I even go ahead with the marriage, or they just no idea how to navigate that.
Yeah, whereas a convert may or may not be able to navigate that better. Let's be honest, some converts would absolutely.
There are many things like that, if the families are drinking, or
they're
celebrating Christmas, and somebody who's a convert, they're used to that anyway. So they already know how to navigate it. Whereas, somebody who's a heritage Muslim, they're going to think, oh, God, and this has happened. We've had a heritage husband who prevented his convert wife going to Christmas dinner with her family.
Yes.
He said it's shirk, it's haram, and it's polytheism, and it's not, we can't do that, and the kids can't go. So this is what happens.
Yeah, that's actually a really strong point. And I have a very good friend she's a convert, Welsh girl. And she's married to another convert who's a Jamaican brother, mashallah. They've got one boy together. And she advocates for marrying a fellow convert, but for one thing, and that is the lack of family support. Not that her family isn't supportive. They've both got amazingly supportive families, mashallah. But it's the fact that the support isn't founded on Islam. The support is founded on, well, you're my daughter. So it's sort of a by the way thing. And she does miss that. She does say, sometimes I wonder, would I have had more support? Or she's saying, faith-wise, if I'm having a wobble, am I going to bring him down? Or if he's having a wobble with his iman, is he going to bring me down? Whereas if you've got Muslim family, maybe they know what to say, they know how to boost you up. Do you think this is something that's worth being concerned about, or do the pros outweigh the cons? Brother Ismail, what do you think to this?
Ooh. Yeah, I believe, yes. I strongly believe that converts and reverts slash marry converts, reverts. But of course, there are exceptions because you do get people from heritage Muslim families, girls, who they only want to marry converts and reverts. So, and sometimes those people from heritage families, even though they're from heritage families, a lot of the times many of them have said to me, I'm like a convert revert because I was only told not to do the deed, not to eat pork, and that's it. I was in shock when some of the girls were telling me this. They said, that's all I was told about Islam. Allah is one, Prophet Muhammad is the messenger, the Quran is the holy book, pardon me, not to have sex before marriage and not to eat pork. That's all they were told about Islam growing up. And that's it. And that they're Muslim is their identity. So when they came to certain convert revert classes, they were saying, I'm like a convert revert. So, and because like you said earlier on before, because they're part of this society, I just believe it's just compatibility, and you love who you love. Because as you know, when you're first courting with your husband to be or wife to be, that sense of getting to know each other, that zeal, that information. Yeah. So I think it's just you love who you love. And I always say to people, one other thing as well, many people are encouraged to get married quick within a couple of weeks. I have seen it work a few times, but I always say to people, give it at least 3 to 6 months to get to know each other. Bring a sister with you, whether your sister is not a Muslim or not, let her come and look at the person as well. Get to know the person. And just by getting to know the person and be straight and say, look, my family celebrate Christmas and Easter, even though I'm a Muslim and I don't celebrate, but I might want to go and see them. Is that okay? Things like this, and these things should be discussed before the wedding, because like what Sheikh Bilal says, you do get some husband that say, no, shirk, kufar, bidah. You can't be around it. But sometimes it's not just by, you're not drinking the alcohol, you're not going to be eating the pork, but just by being at the family gathering, that's so much dawah. Because I remember one time I was invited to a family gathering and I wasn't sure in going. And I've got a particular cousin and she's known as the how can I say, as the wild child of the family. Okay. So when I went to the family gathering, I thought, oh, they're going to start saying, you're turned Muslim. That's what I was expecting. And the one who was the so-called wild child, she was the one asking me questions. Because she said that she found out one of her ex-boyfriends converted to Islam and she can't believe it. And she wants to know, why did he convert to Islam? So, and that was like a shock to me. So just by being present at a family gathering, we never know what opportunities are there. So, yeah.
That's an excellent point. John, I want to ask you this question because I know that, the what I was saying about the sister who said she's always sort of feels that she's missing out on having a wider Muslim family. And I know that you and your wife have, mashallah, a very big Muslim family through kids and grandkids and in-laws, but also you have a very, very good relationship with your own parents, her parents and your parents. So what would you say to this sister who has this concern being married to a fellow convert?
I think that if you're still attached to the Muslim community, you will find that, that there is some level of support there through projects like the one that you're involved with, for instance, that you could always, get in touch if you're feeling a loss. The main ones, I think, for Muslims where they might feel a bit left out if they're not attached to it is Eids, especially. Because the whole of the Muslims are getting together and they're going around their families and everything else like that. And, you may not be involved in it unless you get invited to something or go to one of the mosque organized activities. But yeah, I mean, with our families, my wife's family, because my in-laws live just up the road from us, and they've got both of Hanan and her sister are Muslim. And so her parents have always, had Muslim children, their grandchildren are Muslim, their son-in-law is Muslim, the whole family on that side of it. On my side of it, my mum is Irish Protestant, and because we didn't grow up with an overtly religious household, she, as long as I'm not going off fighting into Syria and doing like those kind of things, or handing out leaflets about this, that, and the other outside the mosque, I don't think she could care what I did. And she's one of these ones, bless her, where every Ramadan comes around, she's saying, "Oh, nothing to eat all day," and like, and this goes on for how long? And every year it comes around, you just got to be patient with them, because it's a test for you. And I think you've got to look at these kind of things. There's anything as a trial, as a test for you. No point getting angry about it and everything else, because you're the one who's got to develop as a person from it. And being a new Muslim in this society is look to the early Muslim community. Ask people of knowledge how did they deal with these issues. As the Sheikh was saying about Zayn and his marriage. I mean, they were in a time where this is before that there was a huge amount of Muslims around. So yeah, history is amazing in Islam. This is the one thing we've got. We've got such a rich tradition and heritage that, as Sheikh Hamza used to say, that you can't think of a new question that hasn't been answered before. There is always an answer to any question you have, because we've got 1,440 years of history. All of these issues have happened. Everything's happened before. There's always an answer for it. Seek out somebody who knows what they're talking about. That's what I would say. If you've got any questions, don't Google it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I agree with what you said about how, there's nothing new. And especially with regards to marriage, it's all been done and there's always answers you can find. We're running out of time, but I'm going to ask one final question. Now, we've been talking about compatibility. Where should people look for marriages? Should brothers specifically look to marry fellow converts or non-verts or what have you? But at the end of the day, with regards to converts, and especially for younger converts or newer converts who have not married in the Islamic way before, we're going to hit a roadblock with families. Now, if it's a convert brother marrying a convert sister, both of the families are going to say, "What's the rush? Date for a while. You don't need to get married so quickly. What's this? You're getting married in 3 months." Because that's not how our families' cultures do things. On the other hand, you might find, if you're interested in marrying a heritage Muslim sister, that her family is not keen for a myriad of reasons. It could be that they're racist, let's be honest. It could be that they're worried that you're not solid in your Islam, or that you're going to take their daughter on a path that they don't approve of. Or it could just be that they have somebody else in mind for their daughter. These things happen. So if you've hit a roadblock with parents, with families, how would you advise brothers to deal with these things? How could you convince your potential in-laws that actually I am solid, I am the right person? Ismael, would you like to address this?
Yes, I've got an issue of this, something like this now, where a good brother, convert, revert brother, he wants to marry a sister. He's of dual heritage, Irish and Nigerian. And the sister, she's of Gambian heritage. And the father doesn't want the daughter to marry a non-Gambian. So he refuses to come to the wedding. So he wants to scrap the wedding. So I'm telling him, brother, trust me, when you get married, this is nothing. So when you go through marriage, sometimes you might go through an issue that is 10 times bigger than this. So are you going to walk away from your marriage because of this? So what I always say to people is, if the father doesn't like you, just get to know him. Just say, look, you don't want your daughter to marry me as the future son-in-law, even though the father doesn't want you to be son-in-law, is to show maximum respect to the father. Fathers admire respect. And then the second thing I would say is to be straight talking, of course, still being polite and respectful with manners. And third, be persistent. Still try. If the father's saying no, go to the uncle. If there's quite a few uncles, go to the brothers, go to the aunties, go to all of them. And you're going to find an ally somewhere. Trust me. Okay. One particular sheikh, he came with something. He believes that if you find an uncle or auntie and then give them £100 and get them to do your work for you, but I wouldn't personally recommend that. But he said that's what he done. So I'm just putting that out there because it might work for some people. And I would say just be persistent. Don't give up at the first hurdle, because this is your journey and it's a love story. Sometimes when we as people get things too easy, handed to us, we take it for granted. So we should look on it as a welcomed challenge, and it tests how much do we really want to get married to our partner? Do we really want to get married to our partner? So if their parents are saying no, don't take it personal. Because at the end of the day, they don't know you properly. Let them get to know you. Invite them to dinner. If there's a family gathering, ask their permission. Is it okay if I could come? Because now your wife to be has got to know you. She wants to marry you, but you have to understand the mother and father, they need to get to know you too. So don't take it personal. Even if you think they're being racist or biased against you, don't take things personal. And if they're being rude to you, they're being disrespectful to you, I know it's easy to say, and I'm far from perfect. Smile and just keep on going and always be respectful. And I would say 7 times out of 10, they would open up, but give them a chance to get to know you. Don't just give up at the first hurdle. But try to find a way of them getting to know you. That's what I say. And be persistent, be consistent, and be transparent. And try to use this opportunity to showcase yourself to the family. Sorry, and that's it. Yeah.
Sheikh Bilal, what would you say to this?
I think Brother Ismail has hit the nail on the head. Can't really add anything else, but just highlight that respect part and knowing the etiquettes and the cultural mores of that particular family. Very important. So when you go there, you're a bit familiar with the culture, you're familiar with the manners and the etiquettes of the family and how things work. Doing your background research and not giving up, but just be as respectful as possible to the family and be genuine and be open.
Brother John, what if the family in question is a family of another convert, and they don't want you to get married because it's too quick. You need to live together first. You need to date first. You need to do this first. How would you address that with a potential spouse's family?
I think it may even be just the same issue, and the same response is to get to know them, so that you are, even though you are Muslim. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I had to explain to my family, that Islam should make you a better person. It shouldn't make you a different person. You are still the same person that you are. We're still from the same background, the same heritage, the same culture. And it's not as if you're going to take them away and whisk them off to the land of Islam and that you'll never see them again, and everything will be completely different. And they're just following the cultural expectations that they have of we live together and get to know each other first. Is that we don't do that, and I think maybe just to educate them in what the beautiful things that we have in Islam, of the respect that we should have for each other as people, as individuals, and that the fact that I don't want to do this with your daughter because of the respect that I have for you as a family, and the respect I have for her as a person, and the respect that I have for my religion, which tells us not to do these things, and that we have systems in place, and these are supposed to be safeguards and guarantees. They're not meant to be tools that we can use to coerce or to do these things with. They're safeguards, and use it as an opportunity for dawah, is to show that you are this person, and this is the reason that you're following the ways that have been set down for us. But I do think that, as you say, that there will be issues for people who are converts getting married from their families. For some people, I know there's one brother who came from a very staunch Catholic background. His family were just completely devastated the fact that he'd chosen to become Muslim, with them being very Catholic. And the thought of what would happen when he got married, I mean, as if he had that one hurdle to overcome, and now he's got this other one. You count your blessings sometimes. But yes, just use everything as an opportunity. Don't see these things as barriers, see them as hurdles, because at least with a hurdle you can overcome it, can't you? A barrier is something in your way, and they've been put there for a reason. All
of this advice is excellent, and we're going to wrap up this topic now, but I wanted to convey a little story of a friend of mine, a fellow convert brother who I know, who, like so many convert brothers, struggled when he wanted to get married. And we've talked about different topics about what you need to know before you get married, what you need to know, knowing yourself. Do you marry a fellow convert? How do you overcome these obstacles with families? And this brother faced it all. But one thing that he told me this story once, that before he got married, before he decided to look, he thought, I need to know who I am as a Muslim, and I need to know what I need to know to be a Muslim husband and father. So he made a list of things he needed to learn, and he went off and he learned those things, and it took him a couple of years. And then when he decided he was going to get married, it turned out that somebody who he had known previously was looking. So they got introduced and decided they liked each other. She's not a convert. She's from an Asian background, and she knew that her family would have an issue with it. So she went and got her allies, and they overcame the issue with her father. But her father's attitude to him was always, my daughter's married you and I don't like you, but I'm just going to suck it up. But then what happened, and this is, quite a touching little story. He was visiting her family's house, and the time came for Maghrib prayer, for the evening prayer. And, the call to prayer went off on all their clocks and their phones and everything. And he got up, went and made wudu, and he was saying, okay, where is everybody? And everybody looked at him saying, what do you mean? And he's like, well, aren't we going to pray? And they just looked at him and said, what do you mean, aren't we going to pray? Yeah, go pray. And he said, no, aren't we praying together? Don't you pray as a family? This family didn't ever pray in congregation together. And so he said, okay, I'm actually going to ask that we all get together in this front room and we all pray in congregation together, those of us who are praying. So he went, he got his father-in-law, he got his brothers-in-law, he got the kids together, he got his wife, he got his mother-in-law. And he said, we're all going to pray congregation. None of the other men were prepared to lead. They were all like, no, I'm not going to lead. And he was like, no, you're the oldest. He went through the whole sunnah of who should lead the prayer. And they were all like, no, we're not going to do this. Because they weren't in that habit. They were in the habit of, you go to the mosque, the imam leads. You pray by yourself, it's for yourself. And so he said, okay, fine, I will lead. And because he had done all this preparatory work, he knew how to lead a prayer. He knew, he didn't know a lot of Quran, but he knew enough and pronounced correctly to be able to do it. The respect he got from his father-in-law after that one little prayer, it was like 200% increase, 500% increase. And now he and his father-in-law have this amazing relationship because his father-in-law looks at him as a real bona fide Muslim. Little things like that can make such a huge difference. So like all the brothers have been saying, don't give up, let them get to know you, but also give them a chance, look for opportunities to show them who you are. And that's also really important. We will wrap it up here. I want to say thank you so much to John and Ismael and Sheikh Bilal, our special guest, who isn't usually a guest, for coming on and for sharing their experiences. Any closing comments? John, why don't you go first?
I think the only closing comment I would make is advice for brothers getting married is listen to advice and listen to good advice and sound advice. Ask people for advice. And when I've been introduced to people who've just taken their Shahada, who've actually accepted Islam, and I remember back to when it happened to me, and I was told all kinds of advice. I was given so much advice, it was coming out of my ears. And it took a long time for that advice to actually filter and settle down, like sediment does in water. And what I say to the brothers now who have just converted, and I've been asked to give them some advice. I say, well, learn to pray. That's it. That's your foundation. But once you build a foundation, it's got to be solid, and so you establish it. And it's the same with getting married: is to do the groundwork, build your foundation, make sure that you're ready to build on, and ask advice from people who are married as well, and keep in touch with people. That's it. Build a network, develop a network, but make sure that you're sounded in Islam and you're grounded in Islam before you start. And that would be my advice.
Excellent advice, Brother Ismail.
Oh, thank you, sister. Assalamu alaikum. I would personally advise, if a convert revert brother wants to know anything about marriage, speak to other convert revert brothers within your network who've been married for over, I always say, for over 10 years minimum. So when you're getting advice from someone who's walked the walk, because we have many talkers who talk the talk, but they don't deliver. So I've learned so much from my marriage from brothers who were married for 10 years before me. And that wealth of information, the wealth of knowledge, wealth of expertise is so beneficial. And like our beloved brother John said, tap into the community networks, the revert, convert events, gatherings, lectures, also weddings, also training courses, charity events, because sometimes when we're not looking, that's when something, especially if you're single, of course, and when you're not looking, sometimes that's when it happens. Because I know particular sisters, they go to weddings, events, and everything, and what they do is when they see a brother, what they do is they find a brother that they know. I need you to send this note to this brother. I want to know if this brother's single or if he's available. So don't give up. There's going to be a time you might be thinking, no one wants to marry me. No, 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 no. England, just England alone, is a big place. London, Birmingham, Manchester, Huddersfield, Leeds. There's potential partners all over. And there's so many brilliant people. Don't just think it's an organization, it's people as well. But just be genuine to who we are and pray for us, pray for yourself, and may Allah make all of us successful, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Me. Sheikh Bilal, your closing words.
Yeah, I think don't give up hope if you are looking for a spouse. Like Brother Ismail said, there are plenty of opportunities out there. And I think the number of women do outnumber the number of men as well, even in conversion as well to Islam. 66% of converts are female. So there are plenty of opportunities out there. So don't give up. Ask Allah, especially to find you the right person. I think that's important too. And don't rush, don't be hasty. Make sure you find somebody who's compatible. Make sure that your goals and objectives in the marriage are the same. Don't let your emotions cloud your judgment when choosing a spouse. Make sure she is the right one for you. And don't let people emotionally blackmailing you to say, no, brother, you got to get married quickly and you can't wait. And it's half of your religion. The hadith doesn't say it's half of your religion. The hadith doesn't say being single means half of your religion is missing. What the hadith says is that if Allah provides you with a righteous wife, then Allah has assisted you in half of your religion. That's what the hadith says. So if you have a righteous wife, it's an assistance for you in half of your religion, and then you can obey Allah for the other half. So don't feel that you have to rush to anything that you're not ready to do. And if you are waiting, then be patient and make sure you make the right choice.
Thank you to all of our guests for contributing today. That's it for another episode of the New Beginnings podcast. We do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please share on social media and with family and friends.
Yes, please do share and subscribe. We're on all major podcast platforms. Inshallah, we'll see you next time.
I look forward to it, but for now, thank you for listening.
Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.